Hey everybody, how's it going? Let's talk about your home recording studio. Today, I'm excited about this one. I know I say that every time, but you know, it's true every time. But I'm excited about what's inside this box. Let's pop this open real quick and take a look. Wow, really, just rattling loose around in there, huh? So what we have here, let's get it to where you can actually see it, is the ART TransY. This is a 2-channel FET compressor. And it came out a couple of years ago. And honestly, I see very little reviews or anything like that about this thing online. I got really kind of curious about it. And I'm really excited to give it a bit of a workout here today. So let's get this thing out of its box and let's take a closer look. All right, at least this thing is well packed inside of its box. So hopefully we didn't sustain any damage in shipping. Let's see, as per usual, we got a nice sized manual here. Let's see, you got a little goodie box here of some sort. Oh, and this is the power transformer, it looks like. Yeah, there we go. So our, IEEE whatever plug, standard plug will plug in here. This apparently plugs into the back of the unit. So at least it's not a wall wart. I still don't really like inline transformers either, but that's better than the wall wart that you can't plug in anywhere next to other stuff. This must be the other half of the cable. Yep. So nothing too exciting there. Let's get this fella out of here. Okay, here we go. And I'll get my super fancy pieces of rolled up carpet here to prop it up on. All right, good enough for right now, good enough for demonstration purposes. Let's get a closer look. And I'm assuming you can kind of see this here. It's a little dark. It's kind of black on black here, isn't it? But we have 2 channels here, and this is one of the things that really excite me about this compressor. But we have 2 channels that can either be used independently as 2 independent mono channels, or we can link them together as 1 stereo channel. I love that. I wish there was more affordable kind of home studio targeted gear that had that option. And let's just take a quick look at least one of the channel's controls here. First thing, we have a bypass switch. That's handy. We've got kind of standard compressor controls here. So we have a threshold. So it's not a set threshold with an input level. It's a set input level with a threshold. All right, we have ratios, a stepped. Ooh, that's kind of cool. Yeah, it's a nice clicky stepped ratio selector here. So we can go from 2 to 1. Oh, I'm sorry. That's not 2 to 1. That's 1.2 to 1. Wow. Okay, so there's like fractional ratios, 1.2 to 1, 1.5 to 1, 2 to 1, 2.5, and then it looks like it's all whole numbers from there. And it looks like it tops out at, so the last marked one here is 10 to 1, and then we have an infinity to 1, which means a limiter. So that's cool. We can use this as a limiter as well as a compressor. We have an attack knob, so 0.5 millisecond to 100 milliseconds. That's a really long attack time. The minimum attack time, it's kind of a little slow, I think. So this isn't going to be competing with like an 1176 or something like that, for super fast attack times. Our release times are expressed in seconds here, and it looks like the slowest release is 50 millisecond. And our longest release time is 3 seconds. That's a really long release time too. So it looks like this thing could really be well suited for kind of program leveling kind of stuff. Maybe broadcast or something like that. And then as kind of an added feature here, we have a de-esser. And it looks like it's just off to max, and that's the only markings we get. So I have to assume it's a set frequency for the de-esser. And then this is just how sensitive we want it. We get our master output for this channel. All right, and I have to say all of these knobs feel amazing. They feel great. Just the travel, they're not very wobbly. The stepped one here has got just a little bit of a wobble to it, and it kind of wobbles a little bit as you're going from detent to detent. But other than that, man, the knob quality, fantastic. The travel is very smooth and buttery. Really nice to interact with. Let's see, we have a switch for our meter source. So we can make our meter sourced from the input or the output levels. And I assume when they say meter source, they're talking about this output level meter and not the gain reduction meter. And then we have our stereo link button. And then all the controls, same thing on channel 2 over here. We'll have to see when you link them together which set of controls takes over as the master set of controls. If it's like the Pro VLA II, then channel 1 would be all the controls, and then I think like the output levels just end up acting as kind of a balance kind of thing. But I will check the manual to make sure that's true. All right, excellent. And I think it's going to be worth taking a look at the back here as well, because from what I've noticed in the product descriptions, yeah, it's got actually a pretty interesting feature here. So aside from our standard kind of things you'd expect on any compressor, we have either TRS or XLR balanced output, TRS or XLR balanced input. Each channel has a ground float, output ground float switch, and an operating level you can change between +4 dBu, kind of pro level, or -10 dBV, which is kind of consumer level. So let's leave both those on +4. All right, and now for the kind of cool little extra feature we get here, which is we can sidechain into this. And I'm going to be excited to kind of play around with that. All right, so I would have to say this looks like a pretty cool feature-rich compressor. It seems very well built. The thing is heavy, that's for sure. I think ART has really done a great job on a lot of their hardware. I've only used just a few pieces. I use their patch bays. I've used the Pro VLA II for several years. And I think one consistent thing across everything I've touched of theirs is that it's well built. It's heavy duty. They use a lot of metal, not a whole lot of plastic. Like this, the chassis is all metal, the faceplate is metal. It's a little sharp though, like probably could have used just a little bit of finishing touches around that cut edge, because that is something that is primed to scratch other pieces of gear as you rack this up and unrack it. And so the TransY is part of kind of a set. It looks like ART or ART also released the TransX, which is a 2-channel preamp, to go along with the TransY, which is the compressor in that series. And I think that's analogous to the Pro MPA 2-channel preamp versus the Pro VLA 2-channel compressor. And the MPA and VLA are, tube driven, or at least maybe not tube driven. They have tubes in the output stages, while the TransX and TransY are all FET. So I think what would make a good demonstration here as we plug this in, run some signal through it, is to just directly compare it against the Pro VLA. So I'm going to go ahead and get this thing out of the rack. My intention is to replace it with this TransY and ship it off to my buddy. So I guess the first step of that, I'm going to need to get it out of the rack anyways. So I guess now is as good of a time as any. One moment. Okay, all plugged in. So let's fire up the Pro VLA II. All right. And let's fire up the TransY. Okay, there we go. Now these are admittedly going to more than likely be two very different compressors, so I don't think we can consider this, really just a direct replacement or an apples to apples comparison, but let's at least kind of see how they might differ and what they can do, how they treat audio signals passed through them. So to get audio through them, I am going to plug them into my interface over here. I've got a whole, just literally a pile of cables. So let me get both channels of both compressors all wired in here, and I'll be right back. Okay, all plugged in. It is a mess of cables back here already. So I guess what we can do is just find some elements and random mixes that I've got laying around. No promises about quality of what those mixes might sound like, but let's maybe put each of these across a drum bus. Let's send a bass guitar into each of them. Let's maybe find some acoustic guitar to send into both of them. And if I'm feeling brave, maybe I can find some vocals that I'm not too ashamed of to send through here. And we'll just A/B between the two of them and get an idea what they each sound like, how they each behave at, we'll try a few different settings. Okay, so over in Reaper, let's start with just some drums. So I got some live drums recorded here. So as much as I would love to just go piece by piece and try this compressor on each of them, I think in the interest of time, let's just try it across the drum bus. And over here, let's go ahead and make sure these are linked to stereo. And, oh, I don't know if you heard that. Yeah, I get a little kind of crackle whenever I engage and disengage stereo link. Like for me, it's just over in my right ear. Yeah, that's kind of annoying, but okay. And I guess first off, let's just bypass it. Let's just see if we get some activity on the meters in the first place. Yeah, I see some activity there. Good. So let's go ahead and make it active. All right, so I'm going to start at a 4:1 ratio here. So we're getting output level, but no gain reduction. So let's start dialing down threshold. There we go. And I can hear it immediately. Yeah, it really grabbed a hold. So let's really crush it. And that's all the way. All right, cool, very good. So let's dial down the attack. Let's get a fast attack going here, see what happens. Ooh, yeah. I like it. I'm gonna do a little makeup gain here. All right, let's mess with the release. As fast as it goes. As slow as it goes. I had the de-esser on. Wow, that actually sounds pretty sweet. With those room mics in there. Let's see if the de-esser does anything for us. And on drums, not really. And bypass. All right, so let's slow down the attack. Make the release as fast as possible. Let's go down to about 2.5 to 1. And let's crush it a little more. All right, I have to say, I'm pretty impressed with how that sounds. That sounds pretty badass as a drum bus compressor. There's some pretty cool things you can do in there. So let's contrast that against the Pro VLA in the same situation. We can see just a, we are getting signal. Good. So let's turn it off bypass. We'll start at a ratio of 4:1. Let's start. All right, this is with just kind of middle of the road attack and release here. Let's just crush it. Oh, sorry, my pots on this one are a little scratchy. Sorry about that. All right. So let's go fastest attack. You can already tell, like, the Pro VLA is more mellow sounding. Doesn't grab a hold and sound squishy. Let's speed up the release here. That sounds pretty cool. Let's slow down the attack. Let's really crush it. All right, we'll ease up on the ratio here, go to 2 to 1. Okay, I think just immediately I can tell that the TransY, that FET compressor, is just kind of aggressive and more, I would say colorful, I guess. I know that's kind of a vague term, but it definitely has more personality to it, while the Pro VLA II is more about controlling without being too conspicuous. All right, on the same track, I'm not exactly sure if the bass guitar on here is going to be a good one to listen to. It's kind of a fuzzy kind of thing, so not a super dynamic bass part, but let's take a listen. All right, we get the signal. So let's start cranking our threshold down until we see some gain reduction. Just really crush it. Okay, let's speed up the attack. Speed up the release. Slow down the release. Slow down the attack. Let's hear it now instead to the Pro VLA. All right, no gain reduction. Let's crush it a little. Speed up the attack. Speed up the release. Slow down the attack. Slow down the release. Okay, all right, yeah, so maybe that bass guitar in particular was a bad example because, yeah, it's already kind of squashed just the way it was recorded, so neither compressor really just made a huge difference in that bass tone. All right, I'm gonna have to go dig up a different mix and see if I can find something with some acoustic guitars in it, and we'll take a listen to those. Okay, so what we've got here is a stereo bus. So this is 2 acoustic guitars, and they are panned. It looks like 100% right, 100% left. All right, so first the TransY. We're gonna link them into stereo. I'm still getting that little crackle in my ear. So we'll start at 4 to 1, and we'll just start with the attack and release midway up. All right, got signal. Let's see if we can get some gain reduction. There we go. Speed up the attack. Or I'm sorry, speed up the release. Slow down the attack. I don't know what this fella down here is doing. I think I have something else sent to this channel. I'll have to go double check. We're not hearing him though. We're just hearing through here. Okay, let's see if we can kind of get dialed into that same kind of neighborhood on the Pro VLA. And yeah, like I said, I'm gonna have to double check. I have a feeling I got something unexpected sent to that right now. Here's the TransY. A little volume here. Nothing. Back to the ART. All right, yeah, that's interesting. Honestly, I think they both sound good on acoustic guitar. Compressing acoustic guitar is a little tough because the low frequencies tend to just kind of drive that kind of thing, which, you know what, would be a perfect application for a sidechain filter. Okay, so I looped the detector in for each of these into an output on my interface, and I looped detector out into inputs on my interface. So now, how the heck do we actually introduce a filter in there? I don't know. So I'm just gonna try to create a track with an EQ on it and send and receive from these two sides of the compressor. Let's just kind of see what happens. Okay, let's exaggerate the settings here first. Let's, do something that's gonna really sound pumpy so we can really kind of hear it working. And so what I ended up doing, let's take a look in Reaper. On the acoustic guitar folder or acoustic guitar bus, here are the effects on it in this window here. So just like I did for the other demonstrations, I'm sending out a pair of analog outs and coming back analog ins to the main in and main outs of the compressor. And I created another track here to not really carry audio, but to just have an EQ on it. Also, another instance of RIA insert. And so in this case, I'm going out analog 7 and 8, coming back 7 and 8. And on my interface, analog 7 and 8 are connected to the detector input and detector output of the TransY. But just doing that didn't do anything. Like it didn't send a signal into my interface to go through this filter and then come back into the detector. So I had to send that signal myself. So what I did was I went over to my acoustic guitar bus. So I'm just going to create a send from my acoustic bus to my detector track. And remember, that detector track only has an EQ and a way to connect to hardware. So RIA insert. Okay. And what I ended up doing was disabling the master send. So in the project, we won't hear audio coming in and out of this track. We only want to send that audio out the hardware outputs, back in the hardware inputs, and they're looped through the detector circuit on here. So I think this is going to work. So let's take a look at our EQ and let's take a listen to the acoustic guitars and see if sweeping this EQ around affects how we actually compress the acoustic guitars. So let's do no filter. Oh yeah, we really hear that pumping. You can hear that. So let's sweep this low end out of it. Let's just cut the low end out of the detector signal. And it's smoothed right up. So the low end is no longer driving the compression. We filter that out of the detector circuit. Another thing you can do for sidechaining, another popular thing, is ducking. So you can have one signal make another signal kind of duck out of the way real quick. It's the same idea, only in this case, instead of doing what we did with putting an EQ in there, we would just send some other signal. So like a kick drum. Actually, let's try that. Let's see if we can do that. And let's just hear the bass and the drums. Little timing issues there, but So in that case, like the bass is actually a little too loud. I took the compressor off of it, so it's not squat. And it's doing exactly what I would love to illustrate here, which is it's covering up the kick drum. We can't hear the kick very well because the bass guitar is kind of covering it up. So let's see if we can send the kick drum into the detector circuit here and have that compress the bass guitar anytime the kick drum hits. And let's see if this works. Yeah. Hey, it works. Awesome. What I don't like about this setup is that as soon as I plugged cables in, that just defeated the detector circuit until I fed something into it from an external source. Not sure what you would do about that. Maybe have it in a patch bay where unless something is plugged into it, it's just completing the circuit and the detector circuit gets to feed like it normally would. All right, how else can we give this fella a workout? Okay, here we go. This is the vocals I did for the song for the Motu M4 about a year ago. A wounded warrior alone in his room, a lifetime of memories gone by too soon. Today is a big day. What day is it anyway? All right, let's crush it more. Holidays come, anniversaries go, from the hot summer sun to the cold winter snow. It seems there was something. Okay. We were going to celebrate. Let's get the attack real fast. And you're living the same. You're living the same day over and over. Okay, that doesn't sound all that bad. Let's hear it again. Let's get the attack maybe a little slower. Let's play with the release a little. Oh, and I have the de-esser halfway up. Actually, here, let me play with the de-esser instead. Let's see if that thing actually does anything. A lifetime of... Okay, that lifetime, that T ought to be caught by a de-esser. So no de-esser. A lifetime of memories. Okay, let's crank it all the way up. A lifetime of memories gone. I don't know. I don't know about that de-esser. I can't say it's a really strong de-esser. I guess I'm used to like the purpose-built, software de-essers where you can really get those, S's out of there. And now let's try vocals on the Pro VLA. A lifetime of memories gone by too soon. Today is a big day. What day is it anyway? Holidays come, anniversaries go, from the hot summer sun to the cold winter snow. It seems there was something. Let's really crush it. We were going to celebrate. And you're living the same. All right, I think that is going to do it for me this time. The video's been long enough as it is so far. But as far as final thoughts, so I guess the big thing to address here is the cost. So the Pro VLA typically sells for about $350 US. Due to just all the weirdness in the world right now, they're a little scarce, a little hard to find. And the price is starting to kind of go up even through like more reputable resellers and retailers. And so I think they're up to about maybe $380 or so. I wouldn't pay any more than that for one. The TransY, however, they sell for closer to $500. And so, you can kind of think that, $350 to $400 for the Pro VLA, the kind of $450 to $500 for the TransY. So it's about, about $100 more. And is it worth that much more over the Pro VLA? Well, it's got some extra features. It's got the de-esser, which, I can't say that I'm all that impressed with the de-esser yet. It does have the sidechain, which is a really cool feature. It's got the ground lift that the VLA doesn't have. As far as performance, I think they're in the same ballpark, but yeah, I do believe that the TransY is just a little more aggressive. It has a little wider range of what it can do, while the VLA kind of seems to stay on the gentle side. I think the VLA is great for, I've always loved it on bass guitar and on vocals. Across a drum bus, I thought that the TransY was amazing. That sounded good. That might be my favorite thing for it. But I do think that this is a really cool, really awesome compressor, and I think that I will be very happy to have it in my home studio. And I think it would definitely be worth at least considering for your home studio if you're looking for a hardware compressor. If you have any experience or anything like that with this compressor, let us know down in the comments. Direct experience with it seems to be in kind of short supply on YouTube and reviews online. So let us know if you've used this. What do you use it for? How do you like it? I think personally this is probably a keeper for me. I so far have enjoyed what it can do. I'm looking forward to using it more, getting to know it a little bit better. So I think that will do it for me this time. And I'll see you guys again next time.